a night of triumph for the UK's right-wing Reform Party.
Every one of you who voted for change.
Winning the parliamentary seat of Runcorn and Helsby from the ruling Labour Party in a by-election triggered after the sitting MP punched a constituent. It was the thinnest of margins, just 6 votes, but one obliterating a majority of 15,000 that Labour got in the general election just last year. The result reflecting a surge of votes for reform in England's local.
Reform UK's stunning comeback. 2 by-election wins that should have Labour sweating. Let's be absolutely clear about what just happened. While Westminster was busy doing what Westminster does best, which is talking about itself, Reform UK went quietly about the business of winning elections. Not 1, 2. And if you think that is just a minor blip in the grand tapestry of British politics, then pull up a chair, because you have clearly not been paying attention. Welcome to British Connors, the channel where we cut through the noise, the spin, and the carefully curated press releases to give you British politics as it actually is. If you are new here, subscribe now. Hit that bell. Because on this channel, we do not do watered-down political commentary. We do the real thing. Now, back to reform. 5 councils held by-elections this week. 5 seats up for grabs across England. And when the dust settled and the ballot papers were counted, the picture that emerged was not one that the established parties are going to be putting on their Christmas cards. Reform UK took 2 seats. Labour took 1. The Greens held 1. The Conservatives managed to scrape 1 together. But here's the part that should make Keir Starmer's team deeply uncomfortable. Labour did not just fail to dominate. In some of these contests, they were being pushed into 3rd place by a party that, not too long ago, the political establishment was laughing off as a protest movement with a charismatic frontman, and not much else. How the mighty have fallen. Let us start in Essex. Coggeshall Ward, Braintree District Council. Not exactly the kind of place that sets political pulses racing. A quiet ward, a by-election called after independent councillor Tom Walsh resigned for personal reasons after 6.5 years of service. He left with grace and dignity, as one does. And into that vacuum stepped Reform UK's Nathan Robbins. Now, the opposition said he had no chance. Those were not our words. That is what Reform's own councillors were saying the other side had told them. Sam Jornet, group leader of Basildon Borough Council, went straight to social media after the result, and he was not shy about it. History was made, he wrote. And Nathan Robbins showed them. He did more than show them. He won. Robbins polled in 30.7% of the vote. 554 votes in a contest where nearly half the ward actually turned out, which for a by-election is a number worth noting. A 47.2% turnout tells you that people in Coggeshall were not indifferent. They had something to say, and Reform was their vehicle for saying it. So where did that leave everyone else? Labour came third, with just over 20% of the vote. They gained a few percentage points on their last showing, granted, but coming third in an Essex ward is not exactly the triumphant return to English heartlands that the party has been promising since it scraped into government. The Conservatives took 17.2%, shedding more than 12 percentage points since 2023. 12 points. In 2 years. The Liberal Democrats barely registered, pulling in just over 3%. And at the top of the pile, in a seat that had previously been held by an independent, stood Reform UK. It is worth pausing here to appreciate the geography of all this. Coggeshall sits in the Witham parliamentary constituency. That is Priti Patel's seat. Shadow Secretary for Foreign Affairs, former Home Secretary, one of the more recognizable faces in the Conservative Party. And yet, even in her own backyard, the Conservatives are hemorrhaging support to Reform at a rate that should be keeping Conservative campaign headquarters up at night. If you are finding this as fascinating as we do here at British Connors, then make sure you are subscribed. Because this is a story that is going to keep developing, and you will want to be here for every twist. Now let us zoom out and look at the full picture of the week, because Coggeshall was not operating in isolation. 5 by-elections. 5 different corners of England telling 5 slightly different stories that nevertheless add up to the same broader narrative. Spittal Ward in Tamworth, Staffordshire. Hextable in Sevenoaks, Kent. Thrupp in Stroud, Gloucestershire. And Merton in County Durham. each one a small window into the shifting loyalties of the British electorate. The Greens, it must be said, held their seat in Stroud. That is a respectable result in Gloucestershire, a county that has shown a consistent willingness to go green in recent years. The Greens are not a nationwide force in the same way as the larger parties, but they are consolidating where they are strong, and Thrupp was a hold, not a gain. Solid. Unremarkable in the grand sweep of this week, but solid. Labour won one. Just one. Which means that the party of government, the party that swept to a historic parliamentary majority less than a year ago, the party that told the British public it was ready to rebuild and restore trust, came out of a week of local elections with a single by-election win to its name. Now, context matters in politics. Local by-elections are not general elections. Turnout is lower, issues are more parochial, and national parties can be punished for things that have nothing to do with a local ward. But context can also be used as a comfort blanket, and Labour has been reaching for that blanket rather frequently of late. The Conservatives won one seat as well, which is at least better than losing all 5. But for a party that is supposed to be in the business of rebuilding after the catastrophe of last July, winning one council by-election in a week where reform took 2 is not the kind of momentum story that gets written up in glowing terms. And there is the rub. Reform is not just winning seats. They are winning the conversation about who speaks for a significant slice of the English electorate that feels let down, ignored, and increasingly impatient. The kind of voter who looked at the Conservatives and felt betrayed, who looked at Labour and felt unconvinced, who is not particularly interested in the Greens or the Liberal Democrats, and who sees in Reform UK something that at least sounds like it is speaking their language. Whether reform can translate by-election momentum into sustained electoral power is a question that British politics is going to be wrestling with for some time. Nigel Farage is not a man who lacks for confidence, and his party has demonstrated an ability to absorb protest votes and turn them into actual seats, which is something his previous incarnations struggled to do consistently. But there are questions that reform will have to answer as their profile rises. Questions about depth of organization,
for the UK's
about
right-wing
policy
Reform
coherence
Party.
beyond the
Every
headline
one of
grabbers,
you who voted
about
for
whether the
change.
candidates they are
Winning the
fielding
parliamentary
across hundreds
seat
wards
of
have
Runcorn and
experience and
Helsby
the
from the
substance to govern
ruling Labour
effectively
Party
at a
in a
local
by-election
level.
triggered
Winning
after the
elections is
sitting
one thing.
MP punched
Running
a
a council,
constituent.
delivering
It was the
services,
thinnest of
navigating
margins,
the
just
grinding
6 votes,
bureaucracy
but
of
one
local government.
obliterating a
That is
majority
something
of
else
15,000 that
For
Labour
Labour,
got in the
the
general
questions are
election
different,
just
but
last year.
no less pressing.
The result
A government
reflecting
that
a
came to
surge of
power
votes for
promising
reform
change has
in
found the
England's
economic
local
inheritance
elections.
more punishing
This is
than its
phenomenal.
messaging suggested it
We've
would
got
be.
swings
The
going
public,
on
never the most
towards
patient of
reform.
audiences,
Massive
is beginning
swings
to
from
ask where the
Conservatives in
promised
Staffordshire.
improvement actually is.
Massive swings from
And in
Labour
that
happening in
vacuum of
Doncaster,
visible progress,
happening
parties like Reform
right here
are very
in
happy
one of
to
their
park
safest seats
themselves
in the
and start
country.
collecting votes. The
Wins on
British
a local
political
level
landscape
come
in
with real
2025
power.
is a genuinely
Councils are in charge of
complicated and
multi-million
genuinely
pound
fascinating
budgets
place.
and services
The old
like managing
two-party
schools,
certainties have been under
maintaining
strain for
roads
years,
and collecting
and
waste.
what this week's
And
by-election
even
suggests
where Reform
is that the
didn't
strain
win,
has
it
not
came
eased.
close.
If
Coming
anything,
up just
it is
over
intensifying.
700 votes short
British
in the
corners
mayoral race
exist
in
precisely
Doncaster,
because this
a
stuff
Labour
matters,
heartland.
and
But
because it
listen to
deserves
us
to be
more
covered
for the
with the
homeless,
seriousness,
where
the
the
rigour,
council
and
admitted
yes,
the Labour,
the occasional
we just
raised
push it away.
eyebrow that British
And then they
politics
put reform,
demands.
listen,
If you have been watching
where the
this
Labour
channel
don't.
for a while, you
We
already
want
know
some
that.
kind of a change.
If you are new,
This-
then welcome.
These guys here,
Subscribe.
they set
You
up
will
a
not
new
regret
reform
it.
party.
Reform bounced back from
We'll
the
see how
setback
they
in
go.
Gorton, and they did it
Voters
with a
seem
statement.
willing to
2
try
wins,
something new.
2 gains.
Reform
A
surge in the
message to
local
Labour,
elections has
a
shown
message
it
to the
can
Conservatives,
galvanise support
and a
from the
message
right
to anyone
and
who
the
thought the
left,
party's
pitching
moment had
itself
passed.
as the party
British
of the
politics
working
never
people,
stays still
but
for
also
long.
advocating
Neither
for
do
lower
we.
taxes.